Hi, it's Jeff Chalmers here from discoverdouble.bass.com, which is the home of online learning for double bass players with our courses, lessons and interviews, just like this one. And I'm joined today by somebody who I'm a huge fan of. I've been checking out her music for, well, a number of years recently, and I was drawn to it because of the amount of new repertoire and, new works and transcriptions that she's creating. She's a student of a friend of Discover Double Bass, Leon Bosch, and she's also now teaching in his bass class at Trinity Leiden. So let's welcome Valentina Ciardelli. Welcome, Valentina. It's fantastic to have you here today.
Hi, thank you so much, Jeff. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, it's really cool of you to drive up and join us and to hang out and talk about double bass. I know we've got a lot of mutual friends in the bass world. One of the things that I was meaning to ask you was, you're obviously Italian. Did you go to the bass convention in Lucca?
I'm actually, I was born in the vicinity of Lucca and I grew up in Lucca, so...
It's a beautiful city.
Yes, I was there and I actually had a recital in there.
Did you?
Yeah, with my harp duo.
Oh, that's a real shame. I definitely didn't see that. I was at the convention and
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. And yeah, so that was, what was the duo? What were you performing?
It was, it's called actually The Girls in the Magnesium Dress. It's my harp and double bass duo.
Ah, harp duo,
Yes.
sorry, yeah, I've got you. That's the name of the ensemble, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And I mean, that was a wonderful event. It was very hot. That was my main recollection of it. But so who did you study with in Italy when you were coming up?
So I studied in Lucca, I was a piano player before.
Really?
Yes, I'm an ex-piano player.
Good for you.
And I just accidentally met this big guy, bass, and I just fell in love with it and I started to play it when I was 20, actually, 10 years ago. And I studied in Lucca with Gabriele Raggianti, and I graduated in 2014.
Yeah.
And then I came in London and
Did you find a big difference in approach going from this Italian school to... And when you came to London, who were you studying with?
Yeah, I just follow Gabriele Raggianti in Royal College for 2 years.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So he then... I see, because of course he teaches at both. So, yeah, how did you find was there much of a difference? I guess if you have the same teacher, did you... I guess what I'm thinking is the kind of Italian school versus a different approach, maybe with Leon or...
Yeah, I just also had some lesson with some bass player from the BBC, because I just won the BBC scheme when I was in Royal College. So I was for 1 year in the BBC just learning and playing with them. I had some lesson also with Anno Senft, like in Royal College. So yeah, they're really different school. And yeah, I think there are differences in each school, of course, in the way you put your fingers on the fingerboard, like 1, 3, 4, the famous 1, 3, 4 we have in the Italian school, and 1, 2, 4.
So do you still play with 1, 3, 4 in semitones then?
Oh yeah, I still play like that. But I just mostly use also this position, or 1, 2, 3, 4, like cello.
Yeah.
Because I have quite huge hands, so I started to just develop also this technique that it's quite risky sometimes, but it's useful if you know where to use it. Like using like the first finger as a capotasto and then just do enlargement with your fingers, like a spider or a crab on the fingerboard.
Are you pivoting much with your thumb? Are you kind of pivoting much with your hand and leaving your thumb in position?
Yeah, like the rabat technique. Yeah, just actually speaking about differences in every school, it's interesting because the important thing is like to start with one school, just to be solid with one school, no matter which one. But it gave you the solid ground to start with. And then like learning other schools that are different in terms of also bowing, so just conception of the bow and whatever. It's important because you open up your mind to choose really what is better for your body, because everyone is just built up different. So there is not like the school for playing amazingly, no? You just have to learn from everyone, I think, just to build up your own one.
Have you ever studied with Francois Babat? Have you ever had a chance to meet the great man?
No, unfortunately not.
Let's hope that happens. I'm sure he'd love to hear you play. It would be a really cool meeting of minds. Listen, I was hoping that in this video that we could maybe talk a little bit about something that I heard you perform on YouTube. You composed an etude to practice double stops, and you were using these kind of short studies, compositions, to kind of look at a technique in a very isolated way, and you've set yourself this kind of, is the whole thing in double stops?
Yeah, the whole thing.
So maybe you could talk about how you came up with that and play a little bit for us. We'd love to hear
sure.
kind of some of the challenges in the piece, and then we'll be able to point people to where they can find out more about that later. So yeah, how did it come about?
So the thing is like, okay, after studying a lot of books, we studied like from the Italian schools, Mengoli, Billet, Caymmi, and of course we study also Simandl a lot. And there is also this book in Italy, it's called The Ferraris, with specifically for double stops, that is good, and Petracchi, of course. I mean, but still, I felt myself personally quite weak on double stops, not that in terms of tuning or just position, but really like the shift between like different kinds of double stops, not only fifths or thirds or just seventh or octaves, but just like shifting really quick between fifth, fourth, third octaves in different position. So I felt the necessity to just build up my own studies, as it was just in the old days. I mean, I think composer or performer were just composing their own studies because they knew exactly their weakness, probably.
And it's interesting because when I think about playing double stops, I think about playing, I don't know, major scales in thirds, you know, and of course you're just moving in semitones or tones each time, and you're not practicing shifting, and the shifting between a fourth and, you know, the lower register and then tritone, wherever you go, it's there's a lot of things that you can work on there.
Yeah, I mean, for example, when you do like a, I mean, this jump, no? Like doing it not in a, but in a musical way. And let's just sing both.
Yeah, so you're letting the thumb vibrate as well.
Yeah, that's so important.
Really nice.
And I think just like when you play double stops, it's just not only you're playing two notes and you hope they will be in tune, like, okay, mostly, you know, but you really have to think on the two voices, like every other kind of string player is doing, no? Or just like a piano player. It's just like a polyphonic way of thinking the technique. So like composing a concerto study, it's like composing something that you feel the necessity to play in a musical way, not only in a technical, because most of the time when we play studies, they're just studies for us or exams, but you never show them or playing them in front of a real public. They're not concerto studies. I mean, piano player, they have tons of concerto studies. I mean, the Capricci of Paganini, there are studies on like difficult parts of the technique. So we have some concert studies, but I didn't find any like effectively one on the double stops. So I felt the necessity to build up one. And anyway, if they're existing and people know about any books with like double stop studies for concertos,
I'm sure they're there somewhere.
Let me know.
But yeah, well, that's the thing, is we're all searching for new repertoire for the instrument to build up and to help people on their journey. What are some of the other challenges within the piece?
For example, also like the double stops, when you just like, for example, jump in octaves and then you do the ricochets in the double stops, and you have like, you should have the capability to let them speak clearly both of the time. Like two voices, but with the ricochet technique. So I just like try to put together like the aspects that for me were the worst one for my just like, I don't know, cantability or just like musical challenge, you know? And just to treat really the instrument like a kind of synthesizer, you know, that I can just like play two voices together and with different sounds and different aspects, and not just a kind of double stop typical sounds like, okay, they're difficult and I have to play them in tune. So those are just the aspects I really would like to explore, and I just start to compose this 4.5 minutes piece with only double stops. And I never perform it live yet, I only record it, and hopefully in the next recital that they will hopefully that will happen.
I think that's the thing, is to have a piece that you're actually performing. Yeah. Oh, and of course, the recital's happening. At the minute of filming this, we're in the middle of this pandemic, and of course, it's very challenging. Just bring us back to studies that focus on a particular area of technique. Are there any ones that you have in the pipeline? Anything that you're working on that you think you might develop into an etude going forward? You mentioned artificial harmonics earlier.
Yeah, I just actually developed some studies. I mean, this one was on the double stops, and actually it was dedicated to Frank Zappa, because Frank Zappa is one of my favorite composers. And this year has been like his 80th birthday, so I thought, why not? And I'm just like composing another one on like artificial harmonics, because I really would like to discover more and just like go deeper on the capability to really feel comfortable in singing with artificial harmonics in every part of the fingerboard. Of course, where it's possible to use this technique, because of course in here it's a bit.
Because I always think about them in the proto sonata. There's the little section with the harmonics, the pinch artificial harmonics that people tend to look at, but it's in a very kind of a fairly narrow register. And as you say, the exploring and developing that idea over the instrument. Yeah,
but because actually last week I had my first recital after the lockdown, and I performed Morgan by Strauss with a nice violin solo at the beginning before the voices entering, no? And for the first time I realized, hey, I could just play it with the artificial harmonic, the whole violin part.
Yeah.
And actually, of course, it sounds at the beginning, while I was practicing, a bit like uncomfortable, because it's super high. At some point, it's arriving on a top C here in artificial harmonic, and you have just to go with the smoothness of like the pressed note, no? Instead of. It's
a very different sound world.
This was more sound of a singer, but this one is just more like recognizable as a kind of ethereal violin part, no? Yeah. And when the voice is entering, it's just like a smashing sound, no? So I thought I really have to develop more the technique of the artificial harmonic in a kind of really virtuoso way, in the term that I can use really the sound as a synthesizer. When I need that sound, I will just quickly ready to use it. Yeah. And that's why I think technique is so important to be explored, not just because we have to show off how fast or how good we are on the fingerboard, but how much color we can use on this beautiful instrument, that it's really unique, because every octave, every part of the instrument's got different sound. You have like the pitch, like you have the, or you have, or, I mean,
that's the strength of the instrument, all these colors and voices that you can pull from the same pitches, whereas with the piano it's a very different journey, or other instruments. But this is such an expressive thing, and it's fantastic to see what you've been doing with the instrument. I've really enjoyed following along, Valentina. And before we cut to some music of you playing, because I'd love to hear you play something, can you let people know where they can find out more about you? We will, of course, be sharing a link directly to the study that we've been discussing, so people can just watch that straight out. But where can people go to learn more about you and what you do?
Yes, so you can find me, of course, on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that it's called The Zappa Woman. But if you type Valentina Ciardelli double bass, you'll find plenty of my videos from like Bottesini, with orchestra as well, until my last experimentation, and you can find also this study on the double stops. And I just opened recently a Patreon channel.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah, where people can choose to support me, also in terms of an economic way, especially in this pandemic situation. It's a small thing, but it's a huge help for, I think, us as artists, And it's under my name, Valentina Ciardelli. And on the Patreon channel, I will just like share exclusive content about the backstage thing, like what does it mean to be a bass player, and how is traveling with the bass, practicing, and like exercise I'm doing, or how I build up my repertoire, and also my social thing in terms of spread out the figure of the bass as a Series A instrument, not just like a back in the orchestra and that's it. And then I have an Instagram page that is under my name, Valentina Ciardelli, and a Facebook page as well. So yeah, plenty of channels.
Oh, that's fantastic. Listen, we're going to provide links for everything below, and thank you for all that you're doing. It's been just so enjoyable to watch the material that you put out, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So let's cut to Valentina playing. Thank you for watching at home. If you want to learn more about what we do at Discover Double Bass, you know where the website is. Go and check that out, and enjoy this performance by Valentina Ciardelli.